Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Trisha. Today I'm going to share with you how I create a whimsical city with a moonlight using watercolor pencils. This might seem a little bit intimidating for beginners, but I assure you it's very easy. I will show you step by step of the way. Well, let's get started. Okay, so let's get started here with a very simple sketch. We're just going to create very simple lines and create some rectangulars and triangles for the roofs and things like that. It's really very easy. Uh, Add a few trees in between each building so you can create a city that has some beauty of vegetation and nature, and it just adds a touch of color to a whimsical city like this one. So triangles for the roofs or other shapes will do well in this style. You don't need to be perfect. All you want to do here is to mostly just have fun and create something that you enjoy and then you like. So we are going to continue creating more trees in the back of some of the buildings, and then they will just appear partially, not the whole tree, but just the top of the tree, and just continue creating your lines. This part of the process is very fun because that is exactly where the creativity flourishes. You just get to create something that doesn't exist, or maybe exists only in your mind or in the paper where you are creating. I'm using a micron pigment pen here, ink pen. You don't have to create directly with a pen if you don't feel very confident and you prefer to use a pencil. That's fine. Many times I start with a pencil and then go over with the ink pen later on. Whichever way is easier for you, or whichever way you think it's you feel more confident. So I'm using here this ruler that helps me create all the windows and make sure the windows are somewhat the same shape and style and the same size. But you really don't need to use that. In a whimsical drawing or art, it's okay to have the windows a little crooked or the buildings crooked, or, in fact, uh, the more wonky and crooked and weird they are, the more whimsical your drawing looks. So, if you want very, very whimsical, you can purposely make these buildings and windows in a very wonky shape, and it's going to look beautiful. So, here I kind of did a combination of whimsical, but I tried to keep the lines somewhat straight, and the size of the windows and also kind of matching a little bit. And you're still going to see that even though I try to make it look cohesive and symmetrical, they are is still a little bit crooked, and that's fine because that adds character to your drawing, and anyone looking at it can see that this was handmade. This was done by hand, no help of computer or anything like that, or no AI. So it's okay to look a little bit asymmetrical at times because it's a whimsical drawing. The purpose here is to create a world that doesn't exist, but that that you like, that you enjoy, and that it looks cute. So I'm trying to make the windows also different from each others in each building. So some windows are squares, others are rectangulars, others are circles, others have an arch top. And so just create whichever type of windows that you like, but have a variety like this helps to balance the drawing, so it's not very, if they were to be all the same, the drawing would look a little more stiff. So here we're trying to create a drawing that is more dynamic, and it has each building has its own personality, in if you will. So these windows that I'm creating now are actually full size windows, like if it was like a porch coming out of the building. So later on I will make the rails for that as well. And this phase is the most I think most fun phase of the drawing, of the creation, because you get to create different details to your drawing. And so some of the doors are round, others are square, others have I don't know, some kind of bricks around the door. Some buildings have sidings, others will have bricks, others will be just plain. And any mistake that you make during the initial drawing, you can fix now during this decoration part of the building. And it will just look better once everything is done. So this drawing may look a little bit intimidating for beginners, and that is just because of the amount of buildings or architecture features that we're trying to create here. But it's really not, once you start doing it's not intimidating at all. It's just a process of creation, because it's just lines. You're just creating straight lines and small lines, long lines. If anything, it's a good exercise for a beginner because you get to practice your lines to make them as straight as possible. And I'm not going to do much shading. I have done just a little bit, but since we're going to color this with watercolor pencils, then I don't think we need to shade all that much. But if you want to, you can do that. I'm just mostly shading the roofs or anything that I feel like it needs fixing. Because as you can see, when I began the drawing, I some of the roofs were a little bit too crooked, even for a whimsical drawing. So I decided to just go over and fix a few things. All right, so now it's time for our watercolor pencils. I'm using here the Prismacolor watercolor pencils, and I have used these pencils in previous videos that are on my channel. And I have mentioned before in my videos that these pencils they have like a waxy feel to them, like a oil pastels, if you have ever used oil pastels. So they feel a little bit different than other watercolor pencils that I have used before. So I've been trying to just practice a lot using this brand of watercolor pencils. But I really like them because their pigment is very strong. And once you get used to it and you learn how to blend with them, just like I'm doing here, I'm trying to blend the teal color with this dark blue color. It's really fun to use it, and it has a very beautiful effect on your art, the way that they blend together. So just have fun with your watercolor pencils. You don't have to use this one specific. Any watercolor pencils will work just fine. And if you don't want to use watercolor pencils at all and just use your watercolor paint, that's wonderful too. I just recommend to go slow and use a small size brush, so the colors don't get mixed up. So I'm coloring this in using now the water. I'm coming with the brush and just a little bit of water, and I'm trying to go in phases here. So I just finished the sky and some of the windows, and then now I'm just adding the water for the sky. So this phase of the drawing, uh, you kind of don't want to be too slow, but then also you cannot go so fast, because obviously if you go so too fast, then you can make a mistake. But if you go too slow, then the water dries. So when the water dries in one section, then it will be kind of difficult to fix that, and reblend everything. Otherwise it's just going to make marks. They're going to be very visible there. I mean, you can always fix watercolor or almost any other medium. Most of the time, we can always fix everything. But it's just the extra step that would be nice if we can avoid. And if you add uh, your pigment with your watercolor pencils, and then you apply the water, and you still don't like the effect that the water is making in the pigment, you can now is come back again with more pigment, with more watercolor pencils, or directly even with the paint, and reapply more water over that pigment. And that's what I'm going to do here later on. You're going to see me, because I'm not very happy with the glowing of the moon the way it is. I guess the glowing is fine, but it's just the way I want to kind of make a circle line around the moon, creating that glowing effect of the moon. And at this phase of the drawing, I'm not very happy with it. So I'm going to have to come back and just add more touch ups in there. And that is the thing with any artwork or drawing or painting. They always have an ugly phase of their existence. They will become beautiful in the end, and we will become something that you like, that you enjoy, that it you appreciate to see it, to look at it, because it was something that you did, and then you spend time of it, and you just like the way it came out. But they all are going to have that ugly face, and right now it is an ugly face. It's not good the way that the sky is looking. um, so we're just going to have to wait to dry, and that is an important part of the process, is the waiting period of all your especially all your watercolor mediums, is the drying process. And so, with that said, I didn't complete this uh, art piece in just one sitting. It was easier for me to just do the drawing one day, and then come back again the next day and start painting, and then let it dry for several hours and come back again later and continue. So, this is not something that you're going to do in a few minutes. You're watching here a video of maybe 20 minutes. So, one might think that, oh, I can do that in maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, but it really does take more time. And that is the thing about this type of drawings. They are not uh, they're not difficult, but they do take time, because that is the drying time, and that is the actual process that just takes some time to apply all the pigment. So, as you see me working there, I'm trying to make those lines around the moon, and will create some kind of effect, and will improve the look of the glowing area of the moon. And then just adding a little darker blue around the in the corners of the drawing. So this is the fun part, always, to add the water, um, because then you get to see how your drawing is going to look, and it covers all the surface. So when you go over with your watercolor pencil, Many areas of your paper do not receive the coverage of the ink or the pigment. Sorry. But once you come in with the water, then the entire paper gets covered, and that is because of the texture of your paper. So your watercolor paper has to have a little bit of texture for the water to sink in, but it does create this effect when you first add the just the watercolor pencils, as you can see there with the red in this building. Not the whole building is being covered, and that's how it works with watercolor pencils. Not the entire surface is going to be covered because of the texture of the paper. But once you come in with the water, then everything is going to be covered and it's going to become more very smooth, the entire surface. So this is also a fun part, is to choose the colors for your buildings. So I decide to keep a very limited palette, I guess, because we have here only the blue in the sky, the red and pink in the buildings, and the greens in the trees. And then, of course, the yellow for the moon, windows, and parts of the trees as well. So it's a very limited color palette, but you can use more colors if you want, and you can use different colors um, that are not just red and pink. I just thought would be a nice contrast here with the red against the blue, as you can see there in that building. And by the way, now that I'm applying the water, you can see how the pigment is spreading throughout the paper because of the help of the water. So it's becoming much more smooth. It's just a completely different drawing now that we apply the water. So the water just it really transforms your art, um, especially when you have a very intense pigment um, that you're using from your watercolor pencils. So as I mentioned before, this Prismacolor watercolor pencils are very good quality. You don't need to use only those. You can use any other brand that you like, and even if they don't have a very strong pigment, you can still achieve very beautiful results with them. I have used those student brand grades that are much cheaper, and they work just fine. They're just not going to be very intense in colors. Well, we are approaching the end of this video. I hope you are enjoying these videos that I've been posting lately, especially with the whimsical style. That is my favorite style. That's why I have so many of them. It would be very helpful for me if you like the video to just hit the like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, it would be very helpful if you do subscribe so I can grow my tiny little small channel and more people can see those videos and hopefully get inspired and learn a few things along the way. So after I removed that washi tape, I felt like this painting needed a little more details. So I just used a regular Prismacolor pencil for just a few more details and just added a few more things to make it look a little nicer and a little more polished. And if you like this video and this type of art, then I suggest to watch this next video coming up, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.